Welcome back to the baseline, and today is part two of our top 20 greatest outfielders. This one is 10 through number one, and as always, joining me is Craig and Al. And guys, how are we feeling today?
All right, man. Thanks for having us as always. Good to be here. Can't wait to talk top 10 outfielders. This was an excruciating list to put together, but fun also. So can't wait to see where we all land.
Yeah, all these lists are the same. They're just impossible. But it was fun. So let's dive into it.
I love it. Perfect, Craig.
Yep. So for me, my number 10 was actually taken last pod, but I'll just remind everybody what it was. My number 10 pick was going to be Yaz, Carl Yastrzemski. He was my number 10. We did talk about him on the other one because, Al, I believe he was your number 14 or something like that.
Correct. 14. You got it. Yep.
Yeah, he was my number 12.
Right on.
So we won't spend as much as him. We already talked about him in the last pod. So I guess Craig or Al, if you guys got number 10, uh, fire off.
Craig, go right ahead because I'm out because my number 10 was Frank Robinson.
Oh, okay. Yep, he was
Okay.
my number 16.
Yes, and we had him on the last pod, so I am out on this round.
All right, my number 10 is active. We haven't talked about him yet. My number 10 might be kind of low for him. I'm sure you guys have him on your list, probably a much higher, but I have Ty Cobb, number 10.
Okay. He's my
With
number 4.
you're right, with his career 366 batting average, highest ever.
Yes. Yes. Well, listen, I found a really interesting article about Ty Cobb that I want to dig into. So if you guys want to hit stats and stuff first, let's do that. But I found a really interesting article that paints a very different picture about the man that Ty Cobb was. And I've been as vociferous as anybody is ripping on him as a racist and all that. But I started doing some research. I just Googled, was Ty Cobb a bad guy? And I found all kinds of interesting stuff. And I found stuff that says he is. But I found a really interesting and published author who says it's a whole different story. So I'll read you about that after we talk stats for a little bit.
Well,
Wow,
he
yeah,
had a
okay.
career 433 on base percentage,
Yeah,
over 4,000 hits. He was the career hits leader for 60 years before Pete Rose broke it,
right.
Mm-hmm.
something like that, or 50 years. Almost 900 stolen bases, 1,900 RBIs, 2,200 runs. Obviously, all the numbers are there. I guess I put him this low because I know he's a racist.
And I
I'm
understand that.
sorry.
I do.
I try not to let the emotional feeling get in the way of it, but it did with him. I'm just like, he's such a dick. I can't. I'm giving him 10 and nothing higher.
I totally understand that, dude. And you can listen. These are our lists. We can do whatever the hell we want with them. So whatever you feel about it is totally legit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm looking at my number 7 now, and he's pretty much better than him in everything, but I don't care.
Yeah, right, right. I mean, it's hard to make a case for Ty Cobb below 5 if you're just going by numbers. You know what I mean? But we're not just going by numbers here. So it's all good. You know what I mean? Like, there is so much stuff out there about Ty Cobb being a horrible human being, including the movie. Like you and I, Craig, we grew up with all those legends about Cobb and stuff. And
Yep.
and they're all there for Jordan when he was getting into baseball too. So Jordan, do you have anything you want to add before I dig into this other side of Cobb presentation? Because I found it fascinating, and I there's so much bad stuff out there about this guy. I think it's only fair to paint the full picture.
Um, yeah, I mean, just for something I wrote down for 22 consecutive seasons, hit 320 or better, which,
Jesus.
You know,
yeah, and then he hit over 400 3 times,
that's
which
crazy.
in this modern day, you will never, I don't think you'll ever see ever again.
I don't think so either. Yeah, and his high was 420, by the way, in 1911.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You
320
know,
for 22 straight years
Yep,
yeah,
300 for 23 straight years.
or better, obviously, sometimes much better.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
Jordan,
there were three
where did
400s in that stretch, like Jordan said.
where did you
He
have him?
set 90 Major League Baseball records during the course of his career.
Oh my God, Jordan, where did you have him?
I actually had him number three.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
legit
I
too.
told you. I knew you guys were going to have him a lot higher than me.
No, and it's Craig. I get it, man. I do. I do. I was
Yeah, no,
astonished to find what I'm going to read you guys then, and I'm curious to see what you think after I read it. It's really interesting. I've got to digest it before I make any conclusions for sure.
All
right.
right, go for it.
Okay. So, and I want to read one quote before I get into the article just about him as a player. Casey Stengel, one of my favorite quotes in the history of baseball, said, "I never saw anyone even close to him. He was the greatest all time ball player. That guy was superhuman, amazing." And Casey played with him and managed. So, nice
Okay.
verification from that dude, anyway. So, here's the really interesting thing. This is wild, all right? And I was not expecting to find anything like this because, Craig, I was 100% with you based on everything I read growing up as a kid. Turns out there's a little bit of a problem with one of the sources that we had. So the article in the Detroit Free Press from May 17th, 2020. Detroit Tigers, 90 years ago, Detroit Tigers legend Ty Cobb challenged myths of being a maniacal racist. Okay. And this is the article. The oft-repeated portrait of Detroit Tigers legend Ty Cobb is that the Georgia Peach was a racist and nothing short of a monster person. So it's interesting to note that 90 years ago, on May 11th, 1930, it was Cobb, 2 years after retiring as the game's greatest player, who took a train from Georgia to throw the first pitch out at Hamtramck Stadium, the new Negro League ballpark that served as the on again, off again home field of Detroit Stars from 1930 to 1937 and the Detroit Wolves in 1932.
Huh.
That's one interesting little thing, but there's a lot more. Um, this the guy who's been trying to debunk the Cobb is a racist thing wrote a book in 2015 called Ty Cobb, A Terrible Beauty. His name is Charles Learson, and when he pitched the book to the publisher, the quote is, "I promoted the typical preconceived notion of Cobb as this horrible person and racist. But early on in my 4 years of research, I found that to be quite the contrary. Cobb was not perfect. He did not suffer fools gladly. He did not get along with everyone, but he was known to be very generous to fans and friends and became a philanthropist." Um,
Hmm.
this goes on and on about things that were debunked about stories of him being racist. Now, here's the biggest one: the book that the Cobb movie was based on. Here's the story, and this is it. Okay, what happened was that the autobiography Ty Cobb, My Life in Baseball, ghost written by this guy Stump. I can't find his first name right now, but something Stump, who wrote the book that the movie was based on. Okay, and was published in September 1961, 2 months after Cobb's death, was not selling well. Stump then created this largely fictionalized Cobb character with the True magazine piece to increase the sales of the book. This was a magazine piece that came out to publish the book or to promote the book. With Cobb safely dead, he could portray him as he pleased. It was like the spark that first set off a forest fire. Stump's fiction has unfortunately been repeated by ill-informed writers over the years and passed down through a generation of fans.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, right? So I should know better at 50 years old not to trust anything I've ever read by the media. Now, that also
That
means that I
probably
don't know
that
if this is
probably
true or not.
that probably influenced the Field of Dreams quote.
I completely agree.
When remember when they all came back and he's like, Ty Cobb wanted to play with us, but none of us could stand the son of a bitch when we were alive, so we told him to stick it.
I completely agree, Craig. It's colored everything since 1961. Now, that art, I won't read it all because it gets too much of me just reading stuff. But that article goes on to say that Ty Cobb found out about this, that he was trying to shift the focus while he was on his deathbed and threatened to sue him because it was a gross misrepresentation and he didn't like being represented as a racist.
Huh.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's very interesting. That is
very
That
interesting.
definitely
And
not well known at all. Everybody you talk to about Ty Cobb, to any baseball fan, they all assumed racist, just a really terrible human being and a horrible person.
and I was with you until 3 nights ago when I found that article, and now I feel like I have to revisit the whole thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
Shit.
It's wild. Hey, listen,
Wow.
it goes on. I mean, listen, there's even more dramatic stuff. Like it goes on. Like his granddaughter ran out of the movie theater crying when she saw the movie. Called her dad, Ty's son, and said, "Don't watch this movie. They painted granddaddy as a racist." And his own family were what do you call it? Was it abolitionists that were like Southern people that were anti-slavery? His dad was a preacher who got run out of town at one point for preaching against racism and slavery.
Jeez.
Now that doesn't mean Ty wasn't a racist. Just because it doesn't mean because my dad was not a racist. But if my dad was a racist, it doesn't make me a racist. And if my dad wasn't a racist, it doesn't mean I'm not going to be racist. But it
Mm.
is a lot of anecdotal stuff on the side of Ty Cobb that I have never heard before. So I just thought it was worth mentioning because I had the same picture as Ty Cobb my whole life.
Wow, because that movie paints him to be one of the worst humans ever to live.
Yes, and by the way, we can like there's obviously some debate about the truth of the representation of Ty Cobb in that book, but what is not up for debate is that guy that wrote it, Stump, was fired by multiple what do you call it, newspaper organizations for falsifying news articles, not just about Ty Cobb.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of anecdotal evidence saying this that
I
might
wonder
be a
why
bunch of crap.
I wonder why that's what caught on more than anything else.
I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the picture. I would like to know what the picture, like what the basic view of Ty Cobb was in 1959 before this book came out. You know, did it just confirm what people thought, or was it a whole new painting of the guy? You know, I'm really not sure. Would they have invited him to a Negro League ballpark to throw out the first pitch if he was a flaming racist and everybody knew it?
Right. And would he have done it? And apparently he did. So yeah, I don't
Right,
know.
right. It just confuses a story that I have taken as fact for my whole life. So I just wanted to throw it out there because it's a factor when we talk about this guy. You know what I mean? It's a big factor.
Yeah, because if I had known that, I might have switched him down to 5 or 6 or something.
Yeah, I might have bumped him up a notch or two. I'm really not sure. I tried to be as open with it as I could, but it's hard. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to like a guy that is a racist. You know what I mean? So it's just fascinating, and I thought it was well worth a decent discussion there because it's something that none of us have ever heard before. You know?
Definitely, definitely.
Cool, cool.
Jordan.
I'm trying to soak that all in. That's insane.
I know. My head's been
Um,
spinning since I found it the other day, Jordan. So I get it.
because like I've seen that movie, and I've actually, well, when I got into baseball, my dad actually has stopped me from watching that film because of everything that
Oh my God! Can I
would
interject 1 second? I'm so sorry, Jordan, but I forgot
do.
one of the most impactful quotes from that whole article. The
Yep,
granddaughter heavily disputed the fact there was a scene where Ty Cobb tried to rape a chambermaid when he
Yep.
was an old man. Okay, the granddaughter heavily disputed that. Contacted the people that made the movie they admitted in an article that they made it up because it sounded like something Ty Cobb might do.
Jeez.
Let that sink in.
Is it possible this guy got screwed?
It is. It's possible.
yeah.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
never ever, Craig, in a million years, thought I would come to that conclusion doing this research for this top 10 outfielders of all time. This is the last thing I ever thought we would be talking about.
That's insane.
It's worth more looking into, is what I'm going to say about it. You know what I mean?
Well,
Mm.
now I got homework tonight.
Yes, and we'll definitely we should revisit this subject in a future pod for sure, because it is well worth it. Because man, it is either he's either one of the greatest players of all time, has been getting defamed for since 1961 in a really bad way, or what they said about him is true, or as most things in life, it's somewhere in between, and I'm not really sure. So
I bet it's somewhere in between
that would be my
more
guess
than
too, Craig.
anything. Like,
What
because there's other things other than just him being a racist that you've heard about that are like accounts from players that just didn't like him either.
what?
It's for sure.
Yeah. Well, the most famous one is that. Well, I don't know about the other guy's perspective, but he hated Babe Ruth.
Right.
Yeah, right.
He, well, good. Yeah. I mean, well, actually, I just found out here that I don't know if it's true or not. It said that he hated Ruth because Ruth was more of a power hitter and trying to change the game, while he was
Yeah.
more old school.
Ty Cobb was not.
Yeah, but yeah. Now that makes me think of.
I wonder
I
how
don't
many. I
know.
don't. One stat I don't have is how many home runs he ever hit.
Ooh, I did I click that off already? I did. I can find that real quick though.
It can't be high.
No, it can't be. I would be surprised if he has more than 50. Let's see.
Actually,
Yeah, he was having years of like 3 or 4 homers for the whole season.
this is right here. He had 117.
Oh
There
wow,
you go.
okay. For
Well,
his era, that's a decent amount.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
He is the most he ever had in a season was 12. But he played a long time, so that adds up.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah. That's very interesting. That's
In that, yeah. So, boy, just just roll that around the old noggin and let's revisit it down the road a little bit because it's worth some research now in my mind.
Yeah, I agree.
Right on.
that I totally agree.
Cool. Well, what's
Oh,
next then? That was what was that?
That
so
Was
that was
that was
Craig's
my
10?
my number 10. So you're Jordan. You're number 9.
so my number nine was taken in the last pod because my number nine was Tony Gwynn.
Right. Right.
Ah,
Right.
yes.
So
Okay.
if you guys have a number nine, go ahead.
I do. Al, do you?
I do.
All right. Well, I guess I'll go first.
Go right ahead.
My number 9 is Mickey Mantle.
Dude, that's my nine.
Nice. Nice.
The Mick.
Best switch hitter of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
3 MVPs. Of course, the 536 home runs, 7 World Series championships, 16 All Star games. Yeah, and like I said, best switch hitter ever. I don't think that's really up for debate.
No, I'm with you 100% on that. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Inspired a generation of kids too.
Oh man.
Right. Everybody in the Northeast loved Mickey Mantle. Everybody.
Did either of you guys ever see the movie A Bronx Tale with Chaz Palminteri?
Oh yeah, that's a great movie.
Yep.
I just watched it for the first time in a while the other night, and there's a wonderful scene where the movie starts in the crossover between Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle eras in the Yankee outfield, and the kid's in love with Mickey, and the dad is saying, "Nope, Joe D, Joe D." It's great, man. It's
Yep,
great.
yep. My grandfather was a huge Joe D fan, and my father huge Mickey Mantle fan.
Boom,
He actually
boom.
wanted to. He actually wanted to name me Mickey.
Oh, that's awesome. What,
Yeah.
mom talked him out of it?
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Career on base percentage of 421. By the way,
I circled that number, Craig. I'm glad you brought it up.
that's a
That
huge
that
on
is
base.
mine. That's almost 130 points over his batting average. That's incredible.
Yeah, because his career on batting average is 298.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mickey Mantle, I think obviously deserve to be anywhere you guys have him on the list. I have him at number 9. You have him at 9. Al,
Yep.
Jordan, where do you have Mick?
So he was going to be my next one. He was actually number eight on my list.
Oh,
Okay.
Jordan, we're taking all your guys. So sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, it's
I love it. It's just because we're all we all like the same. We all have the same opinions on these guys. There, which is Mickey Mantle. I mean,
yeah.
he's a legend.
Actually, here's some things I found interesting about him. From 53 to 55, he averaged 28 home runs, 98 RBIs, and 118 runs. And he missed in a season. I don't have the year above me, but he missed 40 games and still won his third MVP.
Yeah, that was 62.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yep.
And then yeah, then
That's
just like you
amazing.
said,
There's
the
a little bit of a what might have been with Mickey Mantle too, because he got hurt early in his career, tripping over the stupid sprinklers in the outfield
Yes, and that was
and
in
yeah,
blew out his knee.
52 when he was
Yeah,
20.
he was 20 years old and blew out his knee.
And then the
yeah,
list of injuries in his career is insane. Like that was the big one that started it all. And then there's a list of like 15 injuries that affected him from that point on. It's
Don't
insane.
forget, in 61, he had that infection in his hip,
That's what the one I was thinking of. The other big one. Yep.
and he still had 54 home runs that
He,
year.
he had one of the best years of his career. Like yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, and it's funny because when you hear about Mickey Mantle and the injuries, I kind of expected to look at his career and see less games played, but he managed to play a lot of damn games given all that. Like it's
Yeah, he
pretty
just played.
incredible.
It was in an era where you just played through it.
Yeah, the only year he played less than 100 games after his rookie season was 1963, and that was the year after that infection, I think. Or no, that was 2 years after. That probably didn't affect it, but whatever. That was the only time he managed to or didn't manage to play 100 games with all the stuff he dealt with. That is absolutely
I
amazing.
mean, late in his career, when he would hit a home run, you'd see him like laboring around the bases with that huge limp,
Yes.
and
yeah.
everybody would copy it.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah,
Because it was the
so
Mick.
yeah, he was. you know, he was definitely an icon of the time.
No doubt about it. I want to point out
Yeah.
one year that he didn't
Yeah,
even.
can you find anybody who doesn't know Mickey Mantle's name?
Oh my God! I mean, not in America. No
Yeah.
chance. And if they are, if
Here's
they
a
don't, I don't want to know.
here, here's an interesting thing too. He has the most career home runs in a World Series
Yeah, yes, he does.
with
What?
18,
Right.
and he also has the most career hits in a World Series with 59, and Babe Ruth is second with 42.
That's
So not
incredible.
close.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Well, he played in a ton of them, though. How many did he play in? 10?
Something like the
He
12. He
won.
made 12 World Series appearances.
Yeah, he won 7 of them, lost 5 of them. So 12 World Series, that's a lot for any player. So he had
That's
the
crazy.
most opportunities than anybody, but still.
That is crazy. And I'd like to point out his 1960 World Series when he batted 400, had an on base percentage of 545, an
Jeez.
OPS of 1.345, hit 3 home runs, and had 11 RBIs.
And that World Series probably
The,
only went like 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know if it says it. Oh, it actually did go 7,
Oh, okay.
but still, that's 11 RBIs in 7 games. That's awesome. Yeah, and his one MVP season, real quick. He had an on what was it? 57. He had an on base percentage of 512.
You don't see that anymore, ever, anywhere.
On base percentage of 512. And by the way, that didn't lead the league.
What?
really?
I'm looking at 1950. It's not in black on Baseball Reference. His on base percentage of 512 in 1957 is not in black.
Wow.
That's crazy. I'm gonna have to look that up and see who had a bigger one than that year. But yeah, Mickey, man. And my one thing that I want to bring to the Mickey discussion, because I like to bring up baseball cards here and there, as you guys know.
Yep.
Um, I thought. Tell me what you guys think. I thought Honus Wagner's famous card that we talked about before was the most expensive card in the history of
No,
baseball,
Mickey Mantle's rookie card is.
dude. And in 8/28/22, it went for $12.6 million.
His rookie baseball card went for $12 million.
52 tops, which is the most legendary. Well, the most legendary top set of all time, and that is the most legendary tops card of all time.
Wow.
12 mil. Oh my god!
Yeah, I
I was
thought
thinking you
Honus
were going to
Wagner was
say
like.
like 100 or 200,000.
What'd you say again? I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to say 100 or maybe 200,000.
It's awesome.
Wow.
I know. It blew my mind because I was like, I bet Mickey had a card that went like crazy high, and I looked it up and I saw that. My eyes almost fell out of my head. I couldn't believe it. So I wanted to bring that one up because that's the most expensive card sale in the history of the world.
Wow. All right. So
Well,
who's your
that was
number
my number
9,
nine.
Al?
So Jordan's number 8, I guess, right?
Well,
No,
my
his
number
number
eight.
8 just got taken.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right. Nice, nice.
you guys like to take
So
my guys.
I'm just going all the time here. It's just been me every time. So to start, actually, no, no, no. My number 8's taken as well because it's Ken Griffey
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Jr.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Well, my number 8, and we're going to have fun with this one. My number 8 is the all time base steal leader in the history of the game, Ricky B. and Ricky Henderson. One of my favorite players ever.
He is my number 6.
Love it. Jordan?
He's my number 7.
Wow, 6, 7, 8. I love it. That's so awesome, man. That's so awesome. I wouldn't argue as you could put Ricky wherever you want. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I just think so much of that guy. He's so awesome.
Absolutely. The all-time leader in runs, all-time leader in stolen bases, second all-time in walks, career on-base percentage of 401, 3,000 hits. I mean, what else do you want? And 1,400 stolen bases. Right now, if you end your career with 400 stolen bases, that's a big deal.
No doubt. No
He had
doubt.
1,000 more than that.
That's crazy, man. Yeah. He's got like, what, 500 more than the next guy?
Yeah, something like that.
Ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Well,
domination of a category, unlike, I think, unlike any other, I think.
And a quote machine.
That's where we're gonna have some real fun with this one because I got mine lined up, and I'm sure you guys do too.
when he broke the all time stolen base record, they gave him a microphone. He said, "Today I am the greatest of all time."
Actually,
And
do
by
you
the way,
guys
the
know?
front of that quote was Lou Brock was a great base stealer, but
Yeah.
Do you guys actually know that because there was a documentary I watched on him. You know, people actually thought when he said that like he messed up, and because of that, people forgot on well at least on that day. Obviously now we don't forget about it, but on that day, people pushed it away because of what happened a couple hours after.
No, what happened?
So what happened was is that that same day, Nolan Ryan, I want to say was threw like his sixth or seventh no hitter,
no
and that's
kidding.
yep on the same exact day he threw the no hitter. So that's why people, at least on during that time, forgot about Ricky Henderson because Nolan Ryan had in his late 40s for
Yeah,
another
but
no hitter.
breaking the stolen base record, I think, is bigger than a
Well,
seventh no
people
hitter.
well people didn't like how, at least from what I've heard on the thing, is people didn't like how he portrayed or said like that thing with Blue Brock and then said that I'm the greatest of all time and people thought he's like, oh, you're just doing that because of like you just took that from Muhammad Ali,
There
you
was a
know,
lot
and
of Ricky was arrogant stuff back then for sure. There was.
yeah.
I never bought into it. I always thought he was great and loved
And
it. I
I
thought he was a
No,
definitely
I
think
character.
thought
that breaking the
too.
stolen base record is bigger than any
But
no hitter.
that yeah, but also to because you guys were saying with the stolen base, so he had obviously you said 1,406, and Luke Rock had 938.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
and just
almost
under.
500. Almost 500.
That's
Yeah,
crazy, man. Yeah, he broke the record and then stole almost 500 more. There's no
yeah,
other record that has that big of a lead, I don't think. I mean, I'd have to look at and think about it, but I mean,
I don't
home
think
runs,
so.
no.
No way.
RBIs, no. Runs, no. You know what I mean? Batting average, no. Like, nothing I can think of off the top of my
mhm,
head for
And
sure. That's
like I
wild.
said before, he's also the runs leader. Or no,
yeah.
Yes.
he's no. I'm sorry, he's second in runs.
Second, that's right. That's right.
No, 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 no,
No, he
no.
is first. I'm
I'm an
sorry, he's
idiot. I'm
first.
an
No,
idiot. He's second in runs, in first in runs, second in walks.
That's it. Walks. That's right.
there you go.
And by the way, if I'm playing a game tomorrow and I need a leadoff hitter and I can have anybody in the history of the game, I'm taking Ricky
Greatest leadoff
Henderson.
hitter of all time.
Yeah. Runs.
Mhm.
What else do you want from a guy? On base percentage, runs, and steals from a leadoff hitter.
3,000 hits too.
Let's go. Oh my God.
And personality.
Personality for days.
How I'm trying to see how much did he stole? Oh, 130.
He stole 130 one year. Yeah.
I mean, that's
Well,
almost won a game. It's crazy.
no, because I was gonna ask, do you think we'll see anyone steal 100 again? But the
Yes.
closest that because Ellie De La Cruz last year stole 67.
Yeah.
It's coming back, man. So maybe I won't say no on that one.
But I don't know if we'll get to 130 though.
I don't think anybody's breaking that.
No,
I
130.
can't
No,
imagine. I really can't imagine.
Didn't Vince Coleman come close?
Vince's. I want to say
I,
Vince.
I think Vince Coleman stole well over 100 one year.
You are right about that. I just don't. I want to say 119 for some reason, but I could be completely making that up. Let's
He's the
see.
only one that
uh,
I know that came actually relatively close.
let's check
110. He
here.
sold over 100 his first 3 years in the league, Craig. 110, 107, 109.
Yeah,
Yeah. But still
If
like
Vince
20,
Coleman could have
20.
hit as well as Ricky Henderson, he might have stole 2,500 bases.
Right, right, right.
He was unbelievable.
All right. So that's your number. What was he, 8?
That was 8. Yes. So who? Jordan 7, I guess.
no,
Yep.
my seven was Henderson.
Oh, okay. Craig 7.
Yes, once again, back to me. It seems I'm always leading these off. My number 7 is Tris Speaker.
That's my number 7, Craig. That's
Are
two
you
times
kidding
already. I
me?
like it.
Wow.
Finally, you guys didn't take mine. Um,
Hey, all right. Where was he for you, Craig, or for Jordan?
actually, he was an honorable mention. I was
Right on.
actually on the last pod, I was actually going to do an honorable mention, but I'm kind of glad I didn't.
No, that's
Um,
awesome. And by the way, maybe the coolest nickname, unless I'm forgetting something, the coolest nickname that I didn't know coming in to tied with your guy from last time, Jordan, Clubfoot or whatever it was,
Oh,
Hookfoot,
Buttfoot Al.
Hookfoot Al. I love that one too. But this one is just like a cool, like stately sort of nickname. Triss's nickname is the Gray Eagle.
yeah,
Oh,
Wow.
that's nice.
I thought that was cool. It came about because he was prematurely gray and because of his ball hawk defense. And he also had a second nickname, Spoke, which was the past tense of speaker.
nice.
They had a teammate that every time he got a hit would yell out, Speaker just spoke.
By the way, at 37 years old, he
Yes,
hit 390
that's bonkers.
with a thousand, well, over 1,000 OPS.
Yeah, that is insane. I'm
Career
looking at that
average
right now.
345. Not just 3,000 hits, 3,500 hits.
Yeah, that's fifth
Four,
all time.
436 stolen bases, 1,800 runs, 1,500 RBIs. Yeah, just awesome across the board. Any number you want, he's
Here's
got.
Oh,
He's got.
here's a mind
that's
blower. You ready for this one? He he batted over. We listed off that Ty Cobb run, which was, I mean, that's insane, and I don't think anybody can touch that. But check this out: Tris Speaker batted over 340 10 times, batted over 330 12 times, and batted over 300 18 times.
My God.
Yeah,
God damn.
he's all-time number one in doubles with 792. He
Yeah,
won.
let's look.
They had a brief old school version of MVP from like 1911 to 1915, and he won one of them in 1912. And then they didn't have an MVP again for like 30 years or something. Three-time World Series champ, two with Boston, one with Cleveland in 12, 15, and 20. Um, oh, and here's a fun fact about Tris. He learned he was born right-handed but played baseball lefty because he had to teach himself how to throw lefty after breaking his arm twice as a child after being thrown from a bull.
He was bull riding
What?
as a kid?
Yes, he was raised. I think he was raised on a farm. I'm pretty sure I read.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So he was raised in an environment where breaking your arm on a bull once didn't stop you from doing it again.
That's insane. That's holy shit.
Oh my god, I love that kind of thing, man. It's just priceless. And then I had one little thing about him, if I can find it. But if anybody else has anything, if Jordan, you have anything, go right ahead because it's going to take me a quick sec.
Well, I'm looking at the doubles leaders, and it's kind of insane that you look on this list, there's not a single active player on the doubles list.
I think that's due to the large parks back in the day because of the
Yeah,
less home run era got more doubles. You know what I mean?
but even then, he's what 792. The next guy 746.
Yeah, he was a double beast, man.
Yeah,
He was this guy. I mean, legit. By the way, this guy's WAR. All right, we didn't say Ricky Henderson's WAR is 111.1, which is insane. I mean, absolutely insane. Mickey Mantle's is 110.2, which is also insane. Trish
mm,
Speaker, 134.9. What?
yeah. What the hell?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
you
insane.
you can't throw enough superlatives about this guy. This is another guy I remember pretty well as a kid. Like I had one of his old reproductions of the baseball cards and all that, and I read
Yeah, I
about
had
him.
one too.
Right on, and I know the name, but I didn't know how great he was, Craig, until we dove into this. It blew my mind. Like the numbers are off the damn charts. Like fifth all time in hits, just alone right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
wonder what he was when he retired.
What do you
Pro-
mean?
In terms of hits, he probably was like second.
Oh, that's a great question. And oh
what
yeah, because he
what
would have
Probably,
been probably
probably
second to Cobb. He had to be right.
right. Yeah, that's what I mean. If he's fifth now, Rose is ahead of him. That's well after.
Unless Honus Wagner's above him. Honus Wagner might be above him. Let me check that real quick. That's the only other guy from that era that could have been above him that I can think of. Wagner had 3,420, so Speaker was above him.
Yeah, so I don't know. He might have
Yeah,
been
so I would
second.
think he was number two. I think you're right, Craig, but I don't want to say for sure without verifying, but I think you're right. And I found my Gray Eagle quote. Check this one out. This is from Grantland Rice, an old school baseball reporter. You can write him down as one of the two models of ball playing grace. The other was Nap LaJoy. Neither ever wasted a motion or gave you any sign of extra effort. They had the same elements that made a Bobby Jones or the Four Horsemen of Notre Dame the smoothness of a summer wind. I love old time baseball. Whatever happened to old time baseball writers, man? Come on, bring it back. Let's go.
There is any.
I know, I know. Yeah, and if people don't know who Bobby Jones or the Four Horsemen were, by the way, Bobby Jones was the Tiger Woods of the 20s or so, and the Four Horsemen was a famous backfield in Notre Dame football.
We all know it as a famous wrestling group.
That's right, darn right, darn right. That is right. One of the
Oh
greatest
wait.
things of all time in wrestling.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. So I don't know how factual this is, but it says that here's an article on September 2nd, 1962. St. Louis slugger Stan Musial passes Trent Speaker second on the all-time list.
Oh, there you go. There's confirmation. Then good, good.
Perfect. Good job.
Yeah, and it lasted till Stan the Man 30 years later. So that's incredible.
Yeah.
And
So
I have one last thing that I pulled out about Tris, and this is pretty cool too because he was considered one of the best fielders of his era, and he was recruited by Bill. How do you say? I've read his name so many times. Bill Veeck, the old really eccentric White Sox owner of the old days.
I think it's Vec.
Veck. That's what. Okay, that's what I thought.
yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so he was recruited by Bill Veeck in 1947 to help Larry Doby, the I believe who was the first African American in the American League, if I'm correct, right?
Yep.
He helped him transition from second base to center field. So he was, I mean, he was, he would have been in his 50s at least by then. And he was highly thought of enough to help a guy who became a Hall of Famer himself transition his position as he moved from the Negro Leagues into the Major League Baseball, which I thought was really cool.
That is awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Cool, man. So yeah, that's all I
Good.
got on Tris. Anybody else have anything? The guy was astounding to me. This was one of my fun researches for sure.
He sounds astounding. I actually didn't. Well, like I said, I put him on my honorable mentions, but yeah, he did not make my list.
Yeah, it's understand with those. Listen, those old school guys, it's completely understandable, man. It's tough to know. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, no, it really is.
all
Yep.
right. Where does that take us then? Was that your
Was that
7, Craig?
That was my 7.
Okay, he was also my 7. So, Jordan, do you happen to have a 6?
my six was taken last podcast? I had Griffey Jr. as my number six.
Right on. Okay. Okay. Craig.
Right. My number 6 was Ricky Henderson.
Okay. Well, my number 6 was done on another podcast at a different position and was also just mentioned a second ago. And that is Stan the Man Musial. And the reason this guy's on 2 lists is because he played over 1,000 games at 2 different positions, first base and outfield. So it's legit for either position. It was legit when Craig had him on first base, right? Do I remember that right?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And Jordan, do you have him on the outfield list?
No, I also put him on third base.
I couldn't remember. Okay, cool. So I'm the only one that has him in the outfield, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on him because we talked about him in the other pod. But maybe some people haven't listened to that one, so let's dig into just how awesome Stan the Man was. His 3,630 hits is 4th all time now. I guess he took over 2nd back in the day there, like we just talked about, and it still stands as 4th. 331 lifetime batting average. 976 OPS, 417 on base percentage. Taught with a Mick was 420. 475 home runs, 1,951 RBIs, which is 8th all time. 3-time MVP, 3-time World Series champ, 1,949 runs, which is 10th all time. 7-time batting champ, which is tied with Rod Carew, and Rogers Hornsby for 3rd all time behind Ty Cobb and then Tony Gwynn and Honus Wagner. Incredible. Stan the Man. I mean, like you said when we did first base, Craig, his nickname is the Man. That's kind of all you need to know.
Totally
Yeah.
agree. Yep. Yeah. I'd like digging into him a little bit in that other pod and doing some of the research on him. He's another one that's got some crazy good numbers and just another icon.
Absolute icon. I mean, he is. Albert Pujols was quoted as saying he wants his children to be like Stan the Man.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
I just there's like you can't find. While we discussed the nebulous history of Ty Cobb earlier and whether some facts or not, I've never seen, and I don't think you can find anybody to say one bad word about Stan Musial.
No, definitely not. That's another thing. He's apparently one of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Yep, teammates, opponents, everybody, fans, you name it. So, I mean, one of the classiest guys combined with one of the best players of all time. I mean,
I
just
don't have the
incredible.
list on me, but I think I had him really high on. Did I have him on first base or third base?
First, I'm almost positive because he played over 1,000 at first and outfield. I don't think he did it. I'm almost positive he didn't at third.
I want to say I think you had him at first as well.
Okay, but either way, I think I had him really like maybe like third
I
or
know you
fourth.
had him high. I don't remember the number, but I know you had him high.
Yeah,
And
I know.
it was I was with you. If you were going to put him at first base, I was with you, man.
Mm,
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can't you can't overrate Stan Musial. If somebody wanted to tell me he was number one, I'm not going to argue.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. Oh, for me, he was actually my second greatest first baseman. If I
Right
just
on.
look at
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was right there with you, Jordan. Maybe second or third. In that, definitely top five for me as well.
Yeah, I remember he was way up there. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
and you'll see as we get to my top five why it's just like I could have slid him. Honestly, starting at Mickey Mantle. Well, yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot of interchangeable parts, is what I'm trying to say. they're all
Yeah.
so good, man. You're just like,
What makes
okay,
it
where am I going to
hard?
put this guy? The
By the
final thing
way,
for me, a lot of times, was WAR. If I was struggling, but then also I made allowances for guys that missed time to WAR, and I also subtracted a tiny bit for guys who played in the no black era.
yep.
So that's kind of how I try to do it. But, it's just, it is what it is. I could throw darts and come up with just as good a list as long as I had the right 10 people on it.
I was changing mine right up until we pressed record on this one.
I don't blame you. I
yeah.
don't blame you.
I changed three players on this list that we haven't even gotten to yet.
Oh, I love it. That's
Oh,
awesome.
nice.
You have to
Okay.
tell us who they were when they come up. I love it. That's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so there's Stan the Man, 6 for me. Jordan, do you have a 5?
Yes, I finally have a five. Good to
Hey,
go.
go Jordan.
Okay. So my number five is another legend with one of most famous for um, the team he played on. And for me, my number five is the Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays.
Ah,
Oh, he is my number two, and he was one of the ones that I switched around. I had him at three, and then I moved him to two.
he is my number 1.
Oh,
Oh, okay. You can't argue with that. You can't argue.
24 All-Star games. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Now he
Mhm.
played in the era. Remember, we talked about this on a podcast because I see that too, and I'm like, whoa, what? I think Willie Mays only played 23 seasons. So he played in the era where they counted. They played 2 All-Star games, and
Right, that's right. That's
yeah.
right.
So, and I don't know how many years he actually made the All-Star team, but it was still in the high teens. You know what I mean? This is not taking that number and shrinking it to 4 or something. You know what I mean? It was
Right.
still a lot of damn All-Star games.
12 gold gloves.
Oh, I mean,
Yep.
arguably, and now I brought up some compelling defensive evidence about Richie Ashburn, making a case for him as the best defensive center fielder of all time. But Willie Mays is widely considered the greatest defensive center fielder of all time.
Oh,
Yep.
100%.
Plus he's got the catch.
The
That
freaking
video
catch.
that everybody has seen 1,000 times that will be played 1,000 more.
It's amazing, and it lives up to its reputation. It's you know what I mean.
Yep.
He invented the basket catch, which
Yep.
to the bane of all little league managers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you do a basket catch in Little League, they get on you.
Yeah, oh man. Growing up in our time, Craig, you tried a basket catch, you were as likely to get one to the ear as you were to be able to do that again.
Yep.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
2,000 runs, 3,000 hits, 1,900 RBIs, of course, 660 home runs.
This is okay, and let me back that up with the home runs, 6th all time. The RBIs, 12th all time. The runs, 7th all time. The hits, 13th all time. I mean, unbelievable. His career WAR, ready for this, listeners? 156.2.
Jesus.
Yeah, you heard that right. 156.2. That's insane. Oh, the term five-tool player came about because of Willie Mays.
Yes. Because you also had 338 steals.
Exactly.
Yep.
And he stole more bases than anybody in the 1950s, which it must have been a down time for stolen bases. Like it must have been an era where the last like 15 years before the last 2 years in modern times, because he was only stealing 30 bases a year ish, and he led the whole decade. So it must have been a downtime for steals. So my point in saying that is, if he had played in a time when they were unleashing base runners, I bet he would have stole a lot more bases because that dude was fast.
I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I
Can't
agree with
argue
it.
with Mays at any spot in the top five.
No doubt. And yeah,
Yeah, no.
absolutely. Oh, and another neat fact about Willie Mays that is a real mind blower is he was a two-time MVP, which isn't a mind blower in and of itself. It's a great feat, but not a mind blower. Here's what's wild about it. He had an 11-year gap between MVPs. He was 23 when he won his first MVP in 1954, and he was 34 when he won his second MVP in 1965.
Damn.
That's
Also,
got to be the biggest gap.
it is. I looked it up, Craig. It's cool you said that. It's the largest gap in history in MVPs. In any sport, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah. Now here's another one, and I'm curious. See if either of you guys knew this, because there's somebody that's coming soon that we're going to bring up military service for sure. Did you know that Willie Mays lost a year of his career to the Korean War? I did not know that.
I didn't either.
He lost his age 22 season, and he was already a very good player by then. To the Korean War, so he's another guy that gave up a year of baseball for to go into service. And he still
and
has some of the best counting stats of all time of any
yeah,
player. Add another prime season into that career. You know,
Yeah,
wild to think about.
he'd probably be close to 700 home runs.
It would be right. Yep, it would be right there. He'd have over 2,000 RBIs too.
Yep. Yep.
mm,
So yeah, Willie, man. I mean, you
But
can't. There's just a billion Willie things, and you can't say enough about him. You know, you really can't.
no, you can't. Probably one of no, well, probably not one of, but probably like the best San Francisco Giants ever play in that organization. Um, there's a lot, but when you think Giants, you think Willie Mays. Um,
Yeah,
yep.
just
yeah,
everything we just talked about. One of the greatest to ever play. You know, and like
No.
you said, I would not be mad. From any point in the list you have him, as long as he's on.
yeah. Right there with you, my man. Right there with you. And I have one Willie Mays quote I'd like to read. And this, I love these types of quotes from the guys that just love the game so much. And Willie played to what 42, I believe. I don't know if his last couple of years with the Mets, he was ancient, and he just kept hanging around and doing it. And I love that. Some people are like, hang it up, not me, man. You want to play, you play, as long as somebody's willing to put you on their team. And here's the quote. I remember the last season I played. I went home after a ball game one day, laid down on my bed, and tears came to my eyes. How can you explain that? It's like crying for your mother after she's gone. You cry because you love her. I cried, I guess, because I loved baseball and I knew I had to leave it.
Wow.
And that was a
Wow.
guy who just played, I believe, his 23rd season.
Yeah.
That's something else. I love that kind of thing.
Nah, you do. You never. You know. You don't get like as much passion as the older guys that like you said.
Yes, right, right, exactly. Yeah, man. Yep, that's awesome. Okay, so that was Was that your number 5, Jordan? Is that what that came from?
That yes, that was number 5.
Okay, Craig, do you have a number 5?
I do.
All right, what do you got?
My number 5 is Ted Williams.
Hey, that's my number 5.
We have been in simpatico this entire list.
That's a couple a couple hundred podcasts done together, my friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Um.
love it, and one of the coolest nicknames of all time, the Splendid Splinter.
Yep.
Mhm.
344 career average, 500 home runs, 1,800 RBIs, 1,700 or almost 1,800 runs, 482 on base percentage. That's insane.
I
Of
couldn't wait
course,
to
the
talk
last
about that.
person to hit 400
That's first
at
all time, by the way.
406. What's that?
First all time, by the way. That 482 on base percentage.
Yep, yep. Um, and how many years did he miss? 3 for the
Five,
Yeah.
war?
5. I thought it was 3. And
He
here's the
missed
deal,
5 years?
dude. Go to
What?
your baseball reference and check this out. Look at because he also went back into the Korean War years later. So it clearly says on baseball reference that 43, 44, and 45, he did not play for military service, right?
Yes.
But then go down and look at 52 and 53. He was able to play 43 games those 2 years, but he missed the rest of those 2 seasons because he was in the freaking Korean War.
I mean,
Wow.
more than just a baseball player, he's a military hero too because he famously got shot down in
He
World War
famously got
II.
shot down 100%. Did you know that he was John Glenn's wingman?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, John Glenn, maybe the most famous pilot in the history of the planet. He was his wingman.
He missed his age 24, 25, and 26 seasons. That sucks.
Yeah, man, and
Yeah.
look at the years surrounding that. Like the year before he went into the military, he those 2 years he batted 400 2 year in 41. He won the Triple Crown in 42. He misses 3 years and comes right back and wins the triple. Oh no! I'm sorry, wins the MVP, not the Triple Crown.
Yep. He had a 497 on base percentage the year he came back.
And then bumped it up to 499 the next year.
My God. It
That's
just sucks.
why.
Can you imagine if he had 3 prime years back and like added on to what he already
Oh.
did?
This
Yeah.
is why this is the war thing, man. Like I gave Willie a little bump because of that 1 year, and I gave Ted like because if I was just going by war, Ted would be a couple slots back. But he missed so many. Like you could make a case, a really good case. He should be number 1 on this list. Um,
If he had
the
all 3 years, he might be like an obvious number one.
Yeah, for sure. The his offensive numbers would be in like they're already insane, and they would be astronomical. The issue with him to put him number 1 all time, even if you want to do that, is he was not a good fielder. That was the only thing. That's where Willie got him, and a few other people got him. He was an average fielder in his prime and a subpar towards the end. But he was arguably the greatest hitter of all time. You could make a case if you want to.
Career OPS over 1,000. Over
Yeah.
1,100. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 1.116. That's crazy.
Led the league in OPS 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Led the league in OPS, and he was over 1,000 every single year but one.
That's wild, dude.
Which.
Okay,
Yeah.
now let's talk about this for a second. This is going to go right with everything you're saying. This is wild, man. This guy won the Triple Crown in 1942 and 1947 and finished second in MVP voting both years.
To who?
Oh, you ready for this one? In
Yeah.
1942, it was a guy that was on my second base list. I don't remember if he made your guys or not. I just remember he was on mine, and he was a guy I wasn't planning on putting on it going in because I didn't know him. Joe Gordon. Do you remember that guy? That name?
I do remember the name, but I didn't
I
know that.
remember the. Yeah.
I didn't
Now
make
I'm
the
going to
connection.
pull up Joe Gordon as I'm talking about it here, and we're going to look at those 2 years. Now the other thing, Ted Williams suffered from a lot of very similar to Albert Bell and a lot of these other guys we've talked about that are not liked by the media. He probably missed out on 2 or 3 MVPs because he was not liked by the media, at least. And I have a fun little article about that in
What
a minute.
the heck?
Now,
So I just looked up his number.
You found the Joe Gordon MVP year?
Yeah, that's insane.
Okay.
It's not even compared to him.
Yes. So wait, let's read it for the people because I'm struggling to find it. It's
So George,
1942 Joe Gordon. Go.
In 1942, Joe Gordon won the AL MVP, batting 322, 18 home runs, and 103 RBIs.
Now I'm gonna read. Now I'm gonna read Ted Williams' year that year. Okay, Ted Williams batted 356, had an OPS of 1.147, 36 home runs, 137 RBIs, 141 runs, led the league in every stat that I read, plus walks, on base percentage, slugging percentage, and a whole bunch of other stats at the end of the
And
column that I
war.
don't know what they mean.
And war.
End war and total
And
bases.
he didn't win the
Correct.
MVP.
Correct. Now now that one is absolutely insane. The case they made, and I read up about this a lot. The case they made was that because Williams wasn't a great fielder and Joe Gordon was, they gave it to Gordon. To me, that's clear, and a couple articles agreed with me about this that it was clearly just Ted Williams wasn't as liked. Now the more interesting, or not that no, that's a bad way to say it. A really fascinating other one is his 1947 case because this was and still is the closest MVP voting in the history of MLB. It was 202 to 201, and he lost to Joe DiMaggio the year of the 56 game hit streak.
Yep.
And that one's a lot more understandable.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
no, that one, yeah. But to lose to, wow, what the hell?
Yeah. And there, check this out. This is the last thing about this whole MVP thing. There's a Boston columnist named John Drohan for the Boston American wrote about that MVP vote. There hasn't been so much indignation in Boston since George III put a tax on tea that resulted in the Boston Tea Party. He compared that MVP vote to the Boston Tea Party. Let's go.
Wow. Also, here's one thing that I didn't realize about Williams. I didn't realize he was a manager.
Yes. Very
From
briefly, the
nine,
Washington Senators, right?
yes,
Yeah.
from nine, yeah, from 1969 to 1972.
Yeah, he was one of those great players that, if I remember right, the story that they were telling at the time, great player that didn't make great manager. But I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, no, yeah,
And the legendary eye. The stories about him like putting pine tar on the barrel of the bat and then hitting the ball and telling you exactly where the mark was going to be.
Yeah, he
wow.
had he had
Yeah.
unbelievable vision.
Unbelievable. That's why he was John Glenn's co-pilot or wingman.
I wonder if he did the shoeless Joe Jackson treatment.
What do you mean?
Yeah, remember when I told you that to improve his eye muscles
Oh,
and
the kung
face healing?
fu training. Yeah, with the
Yeah,
candle.
the freaking. I don't care what I know. We've done a lot of research and we had a lot of weird, but I have just one of the weirdest superstitions I've ever heard in my life.
I love it. That's so awesome, man. That was like there was another guy. I can't remember. It was either Honus Wagner or the guy I always confuse with him. Ugh, I can't remember, but the other who refused to. He never watched a movie. He was before television, so he didn't have to worry about that. But he never watched a movie in his life because he didn't want to mess with his vision.
Wow.
I think that was Honus Wagner, but it might have been somebody else. I can't. I can't quite remember.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, Ted.
Uh,
Listen, Ted missed all of 3 seasons and most of 2 other seasons to wartime. If you just give him 20 home runs in those five a season in the time he missed, which is way less than his career average, he's up to 621 home runs.
yeah.
I mean, it would be unbelievable what he would have
No.
accumulated stat wise.
Oh, yeah. I agree. And it kind of sucks that he was around that time where he had to go, but definitely one of the best hitters of
Of all time.
and yeah,
No
yeah.
doubt. And the thing is, he didn't have to go back to Korea. He wanted to go back to Korea. Like he was a badass.
The fact that he
Like,
got shot down and lived through it and then came back and was awesome still at baseball.
yes. and then
Hmm.
went back willingly and got in another fighter plane. I mean,
Which
we thought it was pretty amazing when what the Gray Eagle got thrown off a bull and got back on. How about getting shot down in a fighter plane and getting back in one?
Yeah, in a war, in World War, what was it, World War II, right?
Yeah, it was two, and then the Korean War 6 years later, or whatever it was. So yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, unbelievable, man,
that's
unbelievable.
like that's interesting. It actually reminds me of a movie that I went to go see, but we'll discuss that another time.
That's awesome.
No,
And by the way, as I was doing all this research on Ted Williams, where is the damn Ted Williams movie? If there's anybody in the history of professional sports that deserves to have a movie made about their life, it's Ted Williams.
I agree.
But I
yeah,
think it's because he wasn't a popular guy, but so what? It's been long enough. Let's go. I mean, Ted, the guy. Who else are we going to be able to show winning a triple crown and shooting people down in a war? I love it. All right.
yeah.
So
Oh,
who was
and so
that? Was that you, Craig?
That was my number 5.
Okay, and that's also my number 5. And my number 4 was Ty Cobb. Does anybody have a number 4?
I have a number four.
Oh, Jordan, it's like LL Cool J. Don't call it a comeback.
So my number four, uh, you know, I I was considering putting him like top three, but I don't know why I couldn't. So I just put him number four, and that's Hank Aaron.
Aha.
He's my number 3.
Hold on one sec here. Yep, he is my number 3, Craig. For that's our at least
He
our
is.
fourth same one, maybe 4 or 5 sames. I love it. Hammer and
He,
Hank.
yep, probably. Well, if you talk to some people, still the home run champ.
Right?
Yes, he is.
To me, he
Yes,
is.
To me,
yes.
he is.
I I agree, but yeah. What can you say about Hank Aaron? 25-time All Star, which is insane. He hit over 300 at least 14 times in his career. Uh, you know, remains the RBI leader with 2,297 career RBIs. Um,
Incredible number.
and here's the thing: if you remove the 755 home runs, he will still have 3,016 career hits.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a
I
that's a
found that,
great
and
stat.
I put that on, and that's how awesome Hank Aaron was.
That's a cool stat, man. I never thought about that. That's awesome.
So
2,000
yeah,
runs to 3,700 hits is crazy. That's got to be what, third all time or something?
Oh shoot, I didn't write that down for some reason. I'll
I,
find it
I
while you
didn't
guys are
even,
talking.
even write that down here. But yeah, it's and also to go on and realize how much of an impact uh, he had. There, the Acuna said that obviously when he was around and he was playing, he spent as much time as he can picking the brain of Hank Aaron
Oh, yeah.
Wow,
as to be an outfielder for the Atlanta Braves. And
that's a smart young man. That's a
you're talking
smart
about
young man.
generations later, and
And don't
he's
forget, he had those 755 home runs at a time when, racism was still pretty rampant. A
Oh
black
yeah,
player in baseball was pretty still relatively new, and he was going to
absolutely.
break. Yeah, he was going to break the all time, a white
yeah,
man Babe Ruth's record, and he faced so much scrutiny for that. And there was people who thought that when he broke it, somebody in the stands was going to shoot him or something. Like, it was insane what he went through when he broke that record or trying to break
yeah,
the record.
One of the
and
strongest men ever, one of the classiest men ever, and I want to throw something real quick on top of that, breaking the home run record thing. One of the sweetest and kind of saddest stories at the same time is if you go back and you watch his reaction, there are white guys pouring out of the stands to come hug him, and that's a beautiful thing. But when he first looks around, he is scared shitless
Yeah,
because of everything you just said. And when he realized very quickly that these guys were actually coming to just hug him, it was like this. You could almost feel this weight fall off of him. You know what I mean? It was like this microcosm of like 20, 30 years of this man's life in 5 seconds. It was really, really a fascinating thing. And what a strong human being.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
endured a lot.
He really did. He really did.
Yeah.
And he was one of the best average guys of all time. Not, he was over 300 hitter. Let me put it that way. He wasn't in the top 10 or anything, but an unbelievably good average hitter, I guess is the right way to put it, given that he is, to me, the all-time home run king, second, I guess, if you want to say it that way. But what an unbelievable combination of power and average. It's incredible. 305 lifetime batting average, 755 home runs. It's insane. And by the way, I found that he is third all time in hits.
There you go. That's what I was getting to. 3,700 hits is a lot.
It
It's
is.
incredible. It's Stan. He's a
It's
couple like 100 above Stan Musial, who's fourth. So
yeah.
incredible.
Yep.
When he
And
retired, he was number one in home runs, RBIs, extra base hits, and total bases.
Wow.
I agree. Yep.
Wow. Wow.
That's
Okay.
it's insane. So like I don't know. It's just insane that his impact, and he will always have a legacy in
Oh yeah.
in the Atlanta Braves, if not probably the best Atlanta Brave
Oh yeah.
player of
No
all time.
doubt.
I don't know how anybody's going to be considered higher than him in Braves history.
Yeah, if they can get to 4,000 hits and 800 home runs, we can talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I don't think will ever happen.
Yeah, I think he's safe. That's awesome. Yeah, and by the way, on top of all those other incredible stats we read, he also stole 240 bases,
Yeah.
which I don't think of him as
Not
a
a ton,
fast,
but he did.
speedy guy, but he was.
Yeah.
Incredible, man. Yeah, Hammer and Hank, man.
Yep. So that was my number 4. Wow.
Oh, okay. Now, my 4 was Ty Cobb. Do you have a 4, Craig?
I do, and it's going to go against everything that I've been saying and everything I believe with baseball. But I think the numbers are just too ridiculous to completely ignore. Although I can't stand the guy, he's a cheater. I don't consider him the home run leader, but it's Barry Bonds.
I couldn't wait to see what everybody did. Jordan, where do you have Barry Bonds?
I don't have him on either.
And I was not going to put him on anything.
I put him
At,
on the honor. It's funny. So Jordan didn't put him on either. Craig has him at number 4, and I put him on the honorable mention because I didn't
I
know what to
had
do
him at
with
number
him.
2,
Right
and
on.
then I moved him to number 4.
If it's just a numbers game, he's number 1. You know, but there's as
700.
you.
I mean, well, here's an example of the steroids. At 39 years old, he batted 362 with 45 home runs,
Right.
with 232 walks,
I mean,
which is the most all time in one season, and a 1.422 OPS,
that's crazy, man.
and a
Great.
609 on base percentage at age 39.
Yeah,
And he
bonkers.
won 7 MVPs.
Incredible. He
yeah.
should have won an. He should have won an 8th, but they just decided one year to give it to Jeff Kent.
Yeah, it's just that, like I said, the numbers are so overwhelming. I just decided to put him on there, but I would not put him number 1. I just refused to do that.
I
And then I
understand
started
that.
thinking about it even more. I'm like, I'm not going to put him over Aaron because I still say Aaron's the home run king. I'm
Yep.
not going to put him over Mays either, so I put him at 4. I completely understand not having him on at all. He's one of the most obvious cases of the steroids of anybody.
Yep.
And but there's an argument to be made that if he didn't take steroids at all, he might still be on this list.
He would be. That's the sad part of it. He would absolutely be. He might have hit a few less home runs. He probably would have missed a lot more games. Because really, what we've learned in retrospect, and as science has moved on and times have changed, is the biggest aid these guys were getting from steroids was not that it helped them hit more home runs or become better hitters or become better players. It was that it helped them stay on the field. That was the
Yeah,
big thing. That was the
Yeah.
big thing with Ken. I always bring up Ken Caminiti. You look at Ken Caminiti's MVP season, the dude played like 135 games, and it's one of the few times he managed to do that his entire career. That guy was a really good player who couldn't stay on the field for crap. And I would bet you that if Bonds didn't take steroids, he would probably still have come pretty close to all the numbers he put up. But he would, except they would have all shrunk down proportionately to the lesser games he would have been able to play, which might have been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games.
Right, right.
It's hard to quantify, but that's how I look at it based on the things I've read over
It,
the years. But who knows?
no, it is, and I know it's also. I don't know. I couldn't put him on. I know it's weird to say since I technically on the pass list I put two PED guys on my list. A-Rod was shortstop and then Robbie
Right.
Cano passed.
And I didn't put A-Rod on mine on there.
Yeah, but
Yeah. And by the way, we all assume Ken Griffey never did steroids. We don't know.
Right.
yeah, but the only problem I have with Bonds is that we all know, and he's just been a selfish dick about it. Like
Yeah,
to
A-Rod at least admitted it.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know what? That's the thing was like, and I know, it might stir some stuff, but that's also why I respect Mark McGuire because they asked Mark McGuire why did you do it, and he came out flat out and said, well, you know what? The time we played, we weren't getting tested as much. That's why I did it, and that's a completely and great honest answer.
Yeah.
You know,
It wasn't technically illegal yet, which
yeah,
I still look down on that big time. But it
but
technically wasn't
you
illegal
but
within the game because the commissioner was a moron at the time about
yeah,
that.
but that's why now I put a little bit more respect to McGuire because well at least he was honest,
I agree with that.
but now you had guys like Bonds and been like it's like even with it's like the whole cockiness like oh even without it I would still broken the home run record and I would have done this I would have done that. Like even now, the guy's so cocky. He's what 60 something years old. And yesterday, a video came out, and Barry Bonds like they're like, "Oh, how would you do against a guy who throws like Chapman, who throws 100 miles per hour?" He's like, "I would take him deep, no matter a problem." No, you won't. No, you won't. Shut. Who the hell are you talking to me? No, you won't. No, you won't.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, man. It's funny that between the three of us, we did the three possible things you could do with a player. One person Craig had him on the list. Jordan didn't have him anywhere, and I made him an honorable mention. Isn't that funny? No, it was so. I was very curious. I almost wanted to talk to you guys about him specifically before we did this, but I decided it would be better to do it on the pod for the listeners could hear the whole thing. You know what I mean? And I didn't know what to do with him either because by the numbers, it's clear he should be in the top five without any debate, and then you could talk about where from there. Um, but I had just made a decision. I'm just not going to put him on the list, and I put him and Manny and who's the other guy, Sosa, on the honorable mention list, just in my special steroid wing.
Yep. Which is what they should do in the Hall of Fame, by the way. They should put
I
them all
agree.
in, but make either a special notation on the plaque, or just put them in a special area within the Hall of Fame of all the steroid guys.
Completely agree. I like that. I'm a big proponent of that idea.
Or maybe not even say steroids, PEDs and something else, and like you could put Pete Rose in the same area.
Yeah. Some sort of questionable. There's some way of phrasing it. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
You could put Pete. You could put guys. Yeah, guys like Shoeless Joe.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So that was my number 4.
Okay.
Al, do you have a number 4?
My 4 was Ty Cobb. So does Jordan have a 3?
My actually my three was taken. My three was Cup.
Okay.
And then then yeah, whoever. So if you guys have a number 3, go ahead.
Mine was Hank Aaron. Craig.
Hank Aaron.
All right.
Okay,
Well, my
so
number 2's still there. Anybody?
Your
my
number
Anybody
2 is
else?
two,
going to be my number 1, and that's all I have left. My number 2's also been taken. It was Willie Mays.
Okay. And
my
All I have left
who's
is my number 1, and that's going to be your number 2.
and who is your number 2, Jordan? Do you have a 2 left?
so my number 2 was actually Ted Williams.
Okay. So that means I believe that both of your guys' number 1 is my number 2,
Yep.
and
Yep.
that is Babe Ruth. And my God, by the way, I forgot to mention Wars on Hank Aaron, not Poral. Forgot to mention his War 143.1.
Good lord.
um, and I say that because the biggest war, I believe, in the history of the game, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right, is Babe Ruth, and that is 182.6. And I will say real quick before we go off, and you guys do whatever you want with this. The only reason I made him number two and Willie Mays number one is because he played in the segregated area. That was the only
Yeah,
reason
but
I
the
did it.
thing is, I don't. My son actually made this point, and I completely agree. I still don't think that whole. For me, that doesn't matter as much because everybody who he played with at the exact same time was also playing against the same players, and he was so much better than everybody else.
Oh no, no, no! I listen. I'm with you 100%. I'm
Like
with you
Willie Mays
100%.
was obviously part of a different era, but he wasn't as he wasn't as much better over everybody else as Babe Ruth was, which is why
Yeah,
I
but
have Babe Ruth number one.
I get you. And the only argument I would make to that is he was playing against an exclusively white talent pool. You know,
Right, but
so
everybody else was too. So why wasn't everybody else doing the exact same thing he was doing?
right. No, that's a fair argument. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I actually, I really, me and I, we think a lot alike. This is one that we definitely don't. I definitely don't think that holds any water at all. To me, it has no bearing whatsoever on it.
Right on. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Every list I looked at disagrees, but that's okay.
I have not seen one where Ruth wasn't number one.
Oh, I saw several,
Really?
and
I
and the ones
I
everyone that didn't have him the number one made the same case I did.
Yeah, but I don't like that argument. I really don't. I don't think it's a valid argument. I completely dismiss it as soon as I hear it because, like I said, everybody else was playing against the same players, and he was hitting more home runs than teams.
Yeah, right. No, that's listen. It's fair. I just look at it differently. I disagree. It's okay.
And it is, yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, we got to go. The numbers are stupid.
Oh, they're insane. And think
well
about
yeah
this too. This dude's played the first like 5 years of his career as a pitcher.
That's another thing too. He lost some years because he was playing when he played for Boston. He did not. He played like 50 games a season. He hit for like maybe 50 games per year.
Right. Right. Yeah, he's
yeah
the
well
only outfielder on this list or any other list that'll ever be compiled to have led his league in ERA.
Yes.
He had a
yeah
1.75 ERA in 1916.
well
He
yeah
he
yeah
also had 123 steals.
Which is so hard to imagine because the footage you see of him is at the end when he's the big babe that that everybody talks about eating hot dogs in between innings and
He
stuff.
he
But
stole home 10 times.
that's insane. It's so hard. That's incredible. It was. You can't overstate the babe. You just can't overstate the greatness.
Let's see. One year, like there were so few home runs being hit. One year he led the league hitting 11.
Yeah,
I'm looking
he,
at that right now. Yeah.
he spanned eras. Yeah, he went from the dead ball era right into the home run era, leading the charge.
He led the league in home runs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times. In the 13th year, he hit 41. And I guess he just didn't lead the league that year, but he hit it after
It's a shame they
leading.
didn't have an MVP when he was playing. It would be fun to see how many he would have won.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. He
Although it
probably
says he,
would.
he won it in 1923 and then they didn't have it
Sort
anymore.
of, yes. It was he won what Pat. There were a couple little instances of MVP type awards in the early. There was one from 1911 to 1915 or 14 that was I can't remember what it's called. We talked about it on another pod because somebody won it, Honus Wagner, I think. Um, and then there was another one where they called it like the A. I can't remember what they called it, but it was around in the early 1920s and was gone forever until the real MVP came back in. I forget it was the 40s or the 50s or something. But yeah, he won the one MVP that was around for like a couple of years. He did win it.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is yeah, it's insane.
That career war is crazy.
it's absolutely insane. 182.6. Can't say it enough. 182.6. I mean,
I'm seeing
man.
162.2.
Well, here's the internet again.
I'm on
Let's look at
pro
baseball
baseball.
reference.
I'm looking at baseball reference. It says 162.2.
Oh, good Lord.
But either way, that's still crazy.
Either way. Either way. But yeah, I almost sent a massive text to you guys the other night, but I decided it would have been too annoying to read. Um, because on the vagaries of stats I was finding when I was doing the research on the internet. So yeah, that's just
I don't know
where I got
what
my number.
some of these stats mean, but he's the all-time leader in slugging percentage at 690. All-time leader in OPS at 1.116. OPS plus, I know a little bit about. He's all-time leader in that. I don't know what plus OBA is. I guess plus on-base percentage or R. Is it that's an R OBA? I don't know what that means, but he's all-time leader in that. And R bat plus, I don't know what that is either. He's also the all-time leader in that.
Yeah, he's the new age stats that we don't know. He's the king of, which is as the new age stats get more and more fine tuned. It just if you lead something in it, it's always really good.
Yeah.
And Jordan, would you please look if you don't have him pulled up on Baseball Reference? Would you pull him up because I'm seeing 182.6 on Baseball Reference, and it's just going to drive me crazy if we're seeing two different numbers on the same site.
How
Uh,
under his war?
Yep, 182.6 Babe Ruth.
162.2.
And you're
let's
on
see.
Baseball Reference, Craig.
I'm on baseball reference.
That's see, this is
Right,
what I'm
right,
talking about,
right, right, right,
man.
right, right. Okay, I see where you see 182. You're at the top of the page, right? Where it's just got all those career numbers.
Yes.
Go down to his actual stats year by year, and at the bottom it's got his 22 years, and it says 162.2.
Well, how the hell could those two
Do
numbers
you
be
see it?
different? Yeah, I totally see it. You're right. See, now on the same website, they have two different answers.
That's probably why we get confused a lot.
Man, I'm telling you, like that's nuts, man. And the same website has two different answers. You were right, and I was right, and they're wrong with one of them. Either way, it's massive, and it's the biggest. I'm pretty sure that's either number. I think is the biggest of all time.
Absolutely, totally
Yeah.
agree.
So, my God. But yeah, anybody listening out there, keep that in mind when you're looking up stats on the internet because it can be a little mind bending sometimes trying to find the real numbers.
I
I don't
think I found
know.
his.
I just looked at it and it's saying the 182.
Yeah, but
Now look
scroll.
look look down below where his year by year
No,
breakdown is,
no.
Jordan.
Like I looked at like I typed in what's his career WAR and everything is saying 182.
Well, we're on baseball reference. That's what we're on.
Right.
Yeah, if you look, because I'm with you. If you just Google, because I Googled it and then I checked the career thing on Baseball Reference, but I didn't do what Craig did and look at the compilation of the stats at the 22-year column of his full career, where it clearly says
Yeah. So, see,
162.2. So I don't know
something
how
must
you take
be
it from that column and add anything else to it, because that's the end of his career.
wrong because even MLB, if you go on MLB.com, it has 182.
That's weird, man. Weird.
Totally
Well, okay,
weird.
we're not going to solve the mystery of that live on the podcast, but
No.
it is. I think it's fascinating to point out because we've hinted at this a couple times, but we never really got too into
By
it.
the way,
So just
I'm sorry to interrupt.
no.
I think his 1921 season is, I think, maybe the greatest season of all time by any player.
1921.
He had 177 runs scored, 204 hits, 16 triples, 44 doubles, 59 homers, 168 RBIs, 17 stolen bases, 145 walks, a 378 average, 378, I'll say that again, 512 on base, 846 slugging for a 1.359 OPS.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy.
And the year before was almost just as good. Actually, had a little bit of a higher OPS, but uh, some of the numbers he had 54 home runs instead of 59, 135 RBIs instead of 168. So I think 1921 might be the best season, his best season, and maybe the best ever numbers wise.
It's one of them. And here's what's crazy. Here's the nebulous thing about this WAR stat, too, right? His highest WAR was 1923,
Yeah.
a point and a half higher than 1921.
Right.
So, now he did bat 393. So I guess that's, an extra, a little bit where that comes from. But, and you're splitting hairs between incredible seasons. But, yeah, no, it's just monstrous numbers.
His
Monstrous numbers.
OPS is dumb.
It,
He's got he was over 1,300 3 times.
yeah, it's crazy. He was over 1,000 12 times. No, oh my God, 14 times.
Yeah, just unreal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he was a great pitcher. I'm going to say that again. He was a
Yeah.
great pitcher until they decided not to let him pitch anymore because he was such a good hitter.
I want to see if is his pitching stats on here. Yep. You know what his career ERA is?
It's in the twos, if I remember right.
It's 2.28.
Yeah,
He led the league in ERA in 1916 with a 1.75 ERA.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's
he
crazy.
won
His WHIP was
20.
1.07 or something like that.
Yeah,
1.08.
he won 23 games with a 1.75 ERA and pitched 323 innings.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. And by the way, did you see? It's fascinating if you look at his the pitching line in his career because I did not know he pitched.
A little
He
bit for
won
the
a
Yankees.
game with the Yankees at 35 years old.
No, yeah, well, yeah, but he also pitched for the Yankees for a little bit in 1920 as well as a 25-year-old in 1921. He pitched a little bit, like 3 games. It looks like.
That is so funny, man. He started one game at 35 years old after not pitching since he was 26 and went 9 innings and gave up 3 runs.
He pitched another game when he was 38 years old.
Yeah, totally, man. Totally. And he went
Wait,
9 innings again.
yeah, that time he gave up 5 runs, but
He
still,
gave up
whatever.
5, but hey, he still pitched a complete game after
We
pitching.
we we look for pitchers in fantasy, especially that are pitching 200 innings, because that's a lot. They routinely pitch well over 300 innings, all the way up to like the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, totally, man. Totally.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that you look at like Nolan Ryan is a great example of that.
Yeah,
You know,
Randy Johnson. I remember Randy Johnson in like 1991 when he was
yeah,
just getting
Johnson
to
and
his,
Schilling were battling for the innings lead every year, it seemed like, for a while there.
and it was over 300.
Pedro
Yeah.
Martinez in his early years.
They would be striking out 400 guys a season.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, bonkers numbers you're just never going to see again unless something
But
changes
the
in the
fact that
attitude about
Babe
pitching.
Ruth back-to-back years pitched 323 innings and won 23 games, and then pitched 326 innings and won 24 games with a 1.75 ERA and a 2.01 ERA.
Oh,
And then
Yeah.
that's
No,
just
becomes a
that's
hitter,
insane.
becomes probably one of, if not the greatest hitter of all time.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, and
No.
like I said with Hank Aaron, a home run guy who has insane average. I mean, Hank batted a little over 300. Babe Ruth batted 342.
Yeah, with a 390 year in there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, he was a beast, man, like an absolute freaking beast.
And I mean, icon of icons.
Icon of icons. I mean, movies made about him that were not Ty Cobbyan.
Right.
And just revered from, just one of the all-time American icons.
Yeah, he's not just a
Yeah.
baseball icon, he's an American icon.
Absolutely. He's as American as baseball and apple pie.
Now, I never got the answer to this, and I always thought it. I assumed the Baby Ruth candy bar was from him.
I always did too. It had to be, right?
I think so. At least that's why I know of.
Right.
That's how I always thought.
I
Huh.
never looked it up to find out for sure. I just assumed, and I
Oh,
never
here it
really.
is. In 1920, the Curtis Candy Company refashioned its candy cake into the Baby Ruth, and it became the best-selling confection in the 5-cent confectionery category by the late 1920s.
Was it
Now, it
named?
doesn't it
Was it
doesn't
named
say.
after him though?
Ruth was after.
You said 19.
No, it was named after Ruth Cleveland, the daughter of President Grover Cleveland.
There you go. I kind of thought it wasn't because you just said 1920.
And that would have been
1920.
too
He wasn't
early.
that big of a deal. He was
Yeah,
still
it would
in
have been too
Boston.
early. Oh, that's so funny. My whole life I just assumed. Now, was the Reggie bar after actually named after somebody else?
No, no, no. The Reggie
Ah,
Bar
no,
is
I'm
right.
kidding. I'm kidding. We looked that up. Oh, what a riot. Wow.
Wow, so you learn something new every day.
I bet Babe Ruth becoming Babe Ruth was the single biggest marketing boon for that candy bar that ever could have possibly happened, though, huh?
Yeah, I wonder how he got the Babe nickname.
Oh, that's a good question. I can't
Talk,
believe I
talk
didn't
about
look that
talk
up.
about nicknames. That's the most iconic.
You're no kidding, for real.
I mean, if he was George Ruth, I don't know if it would have. It doesn't have quite the same
Yeah,
ring
because
to it.
George Herman Ruth. Yeah, it just doesn't ring. Or even J.R. Ruth. There's nothing you can do with it.
What?
Oh,
What?
did you just find it? Because I just found it too. Go ahead, Jordan.
Babe Ruth got his nickname Babe from a sports writer who called him Dunn's Babe. The nickname came after Jack Dunn, the owner of the Baltimore Orioles, signed into a contract in 1914.
And it also says older players teased Ruth as Dunn's baby. The
Oh,
nickname was shortened to
jeez.
Baby, then Babe. So much like a lot of nicknames don't start off as a positive thing, and then they just take ownership of them eventually. That's priceless, man.
Wow.
Huh. Again, you
How
learn
about
something new
that?
every day.
Sports writers eventually gave him the name Bambino and the Sultan of SWAT, but that was the story of Babe.
People. Now
What?
here's a thing about a sign of the times. One, two, three, four. He led the league in strikeouts, getting struck out 5 times,
Mm-hmm.
but not once did he ever strike out over 100 times in a season.
Wow.
He led the league in strikeouts one year with 58.
That's incredible.
I just
Yeah, talk about different times, man. That's amazing.
I just found a quote. I want. I actually want to know if this was because says um this was a quote he did in the Hall of Fame. Once he got inducted into the Hall of Fame, I kind of want to know if this was like a kind of a jab at Ty Cobb. But he
Uh-huh.
said the fans would rather see me hit one home run to right than three doubles to left.
Yeah, and I bet it was too because Cobb was very anti home run era and Ruth was very much pro. So it would not surprise me.
That had to be that's awesome. It is.
That's great. That is freaking
It's
great.
crazy to think Babe was born in the 1800s,
Isn't that nuts, man?
1895.
Isn't that nuts?
But yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, so there you go.
I
That's
that is
love
our
it.
list.
that's the
That's freaking
list.
awesome, man. That was incredible. I enjoyed that, especially the Barry Bonds being on or off the list. I couldn't wait to get to. That was really interesting, and just lots of great players to talk about, man.
I do have a question now. Do
Yep.
we do we dare
Oh,
do we
Oh.
dare do starting pitchers?
I was. This is it's going to be as hard as this, and I would love to. I think we should
I think it
at
might be
least do it.
harder.
It would have to be at least the top 20 again if we're going to do it.
Yeah, yeah, we'd have to do top 20.
Okay.
But talk about impossible.
Yeah, that's
I
gonna be
mean,
that's gonna
that's
be
going to
hard.
be fun. I'm
But
in.
I
That's,
would have to I, I think for me, I would have to just exclude anybody still playing.
I
And,
always do that, Craig, and I'm with you. I would definitely do that for this.
and
Yeah.
I think I probably would take Roger off of it for the steroids. I don't know.
It's hard. It's again with that, yeah, because I don't. It's so hard to know what to do with that. I think I probably would too, but I'm not sure until I actually sit down
Well,
and think about it.
do you guys want to do? I was just say, did you want to do starting pitching right after, or did you want to do like closers because we could probably do 10 on closers,
We
That
could
would be a
definitely do
lot easier list to compile.
and
right,
then
and
and
number
then
one would be of no debate.
Oh, we could just mail in number one right now. Yes.
yeah, and then do you know pictures after
Start.
because cause I'm looking at it. Uh,
It's going to be impossible.
yeah, but even though, because like with I was also thinking like with opening day coming up, we'll probably like do our predictions. But then like April May around that time, nothing really happens because it started. So we could always do the top 20 starting pitcher after opening day,
Sure.
and
Yeah,
then
however you want to do it is cool with me, man.
but then
Absolutely.
I was thinking maybe we could do like closers first because we could easily jot that down to 10 and also save us the freaking hassle of making a top 20.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. All right. And then
Totally
we'll
cool
do
with me.
starters. And I was going to mention that you just mentioned it too. I hope want to have you guys on my podcast for the predictions one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that'd be fun. Absolutely.
yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
We probably Well, if we do it on one, we probably won't do it on the other because we already did it, right?
Yeah. I would assume only because the predictions one last year was on mine as well. And I think the year before, oh, no, I didn't have it the year before. But regardless, I know we did some baseball predictions last year on mine for sure. We revisited them at the end of the year too.
Yep. I
So might
think
as
it
well.
was just you and me on the predictions, and then we had Jordan for the recap where he brought in
Okay.
his own predictions. Yep.
Yep. Okay. So
But
this
let's have
time,
all three of us the whole way through this time. I think
Oh,
that's great.
yeah. I wonder why? Because that's when we didn't have this program we're using now. We had the other one where we
That's right.
couldn't invite three people.
That's right. We couldn't do the group thing. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I'm down, man. Whatever you guys, whatever dates you want to do, whatever order you want to do, I'm in. I love it. So yeah, and I only have my eyebrows left to turn gray, and I think the starting pitchers will do that.
right? I was going to say too. I don't care if we start if we do the predictions ones after the Japan games.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. They don't count to me.
Well,
Yeah,
that I mean they count, but I don't care. I'd
I
rather
know.
we
Yeah,
get it
yeah,
closer to the regular season.
yeah. Totally, man. 100%. That makes sense to me.
yeah, no,
So,
yeah, that works.
all right.
And then
And hey, by the way, just a quick preview as to how fun this starting pitcher list is going to be.
mm-hmm.
I just pulled up one just because I wanted to look what was outside the top 20. Number 21 on this list is John Smoltz.
Oh God.
So that's what we're looking at, boys. I can't wait.
Yeah, this could be fun. Um, did you guys? Because I know we talked a little bit on the last pod. Did you guys want to do honorable mentions?
Oh, yeah, I have time if you guys do.
I have time. I just you know what I'm a putz. I actually didn't do any more, so I could just comment on yours. But I did not actually do any more. I should have thrown a few more on there because we mentioned some of them last time, and some of my honorable mentions were on your guys' lists, and I don't have any left.
All good, man. No, you did awesome work. You're good. um, and also before we stop too, I'd like to if we could each throw I have a couple I can throw out if you guys don't, but we didn't do any Ricky Henderson quotes.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We need to rectify that. I realized that once we were like two past him, and I didn't want to bring it up until the end because I didn't want to ruin the flow. But
yeah.
oh,
Well, I told
okay.
him I did say the greatest of all time one.
You did. You absolutely yes. But yes, the base stealing one absolutely. But we're not doing Ricky's service if we don't do at least 5 to 10. So all right, Jordan, do you want to start with one of yours?
Um, no, you could go. Yeah, if you want to.
Okay. Well, if I told you that you guys remember Billy Hamilton, the base stealer from a few years ago, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, if I told you that he was not the best base stealing Billy Hamilton in the history of baseball, what would you
I
say?
I know this.
Oh, I do too. That was another.
Isn't this great? Now, so one of my top honorable mentions is the other Billy Hamilton, or actually the Billy Hamilton that just played recently would have to be the other because this guy was much better. And that is the Billy Hamilton. By the way, this guy played from 1888 to 1901. All right, so we are in the way, way back machine here. He uh, he had a career 63.2 WAR, which is close to some of the guys on this list, not far off from the Tony Gwynns and the Rock Rains. Um, and he is number two all time in number three all time in stolen bases. Or number two. What do you guys have there for that? I thought it was Lou Brock was number two.
Lou Brock is number 2.
Okay, so Billy's number three with 914 steals.
It's a lot.
That is yeah.
And he stole over 100 bases more times than Vince Coleman. 4 times.
Wow.
And he stole 97 another season. His
Holy crap.
career batting average is 344. He led the league twice, 340 one year and 380 another year. He had 2 years of OPS over 1.014 and 1.044. The year he stole exactly 100 bases, he had 90 RBIs and an on base percentage of 403. So this guy was and everything I read about him, he was like a pioneer of stealing bases in the game. Like he was one of the guys that made it a popular thing.
Wow.
Wow.
I knew
So
of
yeah,
him. I knew of him,
I
but
was
I didn't.
curious if you guys had heard of him because I hadn't before this, so it was new to me.
Oh, I knew of him, but I didn't know those details.
Yeah, man. I looked up. I was looking up career steals for I think it was Willie Mays or somebody when doing the list, and Billy Hamilton, the recent Billy Hamilton, was kind of near whoever I was looking up, and Billy had like 370 steals or something like that, somewhere in that ballpark if I remember right. And then as I was looking at that, a little quote popped up that he's not the best base stealing Billy Hamilton ever, and I was like, what the hell? And I followed that train, and that's their trail, and that's how I found all this stuff. Billy Hamilton, the base stealing maven.
That's
Oh, and by
fantastic.
the way, this guy was 5'6", 165 pounds.
Wow, little guy.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
makes Jose Altuve look large. All right,
Hmm.
Jordan, you ready for one now?
Yeah, I have one. Numbers don't really jump off the page for you, but I did find it interesting. You guys ever heard of Goose Goslin?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good name.
he was one of my honorable mentions that I ended up putting on the list. He had what 2,735 hits, uh 1,482 runs, batting average 316, and a home runs of 248 with 1,612 RBIs. Um, just interesting because I found it, and when I looked at it, I thought in my mind, I kid you not, I had to look twice because I thought it said Goose Gossage. I'm like, when was Goose Gossage ever an outfielder? Um, so that definitely got me. But then I read twice. I said, oh, never mind. But just get like in this in his second full season in 1923, he ended up leading the league in triples while driving in 99 runs and batting 300. It's only in his second year. And then
Nice.
in 1924, his third year, led the American League with 129 RBIs.
Wow.
So just right off the bat, this guy was just hitting and all of this, which is to me it was just amazing. I'm like, wow, just your first couple of years and you're already making an impact.
Yeah, that's a good welcome to the bigs.
Yeah. So yeah, like Goose
That's a
Goss.
good one, man. That's a really good one. He was not on my radar, and he deserved to be. That's a really good one.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Um, okay. So my next one, and then I just have two other ones I just want to mention briefly without digging in hard or anything. But the last one I want to mention, we're digging in a little, is the guy who had the highest WAR of anybody that didn't make my list, and his WAR was higher than I think three people that did make my list, and that is Paul Wainer. Either of you guys know this name? Because this was a name I knew, but not real well.
I don't think I do. No.
Yeah, this was one I had to learn about. So Paul Wainer played from 26 to 45. He was the NL MVP, or what passed for it, in 1927. And he was in the top 15 MVP voting 7 times during the course of his career. His MVP year, he batted .380, had 237 hits, 131 RBIs. He wasn't a home run guy. He only had most he ever had in a season was 15. He led the league in average 3 times, 380 that year I just mentioned, 362 in 1934, and 373 in 1936. His career at batting average was 333, and his career OPS is 878.
Wow.
Just a hitting machine, this guy. Like, it was
Yeah.
another guy I didn't know a ton about, but holy mackerel, what a hitting machine.
Yeah, definitely didn't know anything about him. Wow.
Yeah, he new to me, and he didn't bat below 309 until he was 35 years old.
Jeez.
So Paul Wainer, that was the biggest WAR number on my list that didn't make my list. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned him a little bit. And then the other two I just briefly want to mention are Larry Walker and Carlos Beltran. Two guys from the more modern era that I was a little surprised to see where they stacked up in the WAR. Would you have guessed? And I think both of these guys are awesome. So I already knew they were great players, but I was just a little surprised to see that Larry Walker was 72.7 and Carlos Beltran was 70.1.
Wow.
Yeah. So they could have been, just by WAR, they should have been in my top 10.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah.
I want to mention one guy who I think is completely disrespected. He's not going to be on any list. His numbers are not going to stack up, but he gets shortchanged, I think, and that's Bernie Williams.
Oh, I agree.
Oh yeah.
As a
Bernie Williams
non-Yankee
was
fan,
just
I completely agree.
They always talk about the core four without him in it, and it's like, how the hell do you not have him as part of that core four? It should be a core five.
Dude,
I don't get it.
it doesn't make sense.
He won a
Bernie
batting
was
title. He won a
he was as
batting
much a part
title.
of those teams as anybody.
Yeah, he won a batting title.
He won a batting title. He was great for a long time, man. I mean, he was a very good defender. He was a very good hitter, and he had a nice 10-year great prime. He's also the only guy on this list that I know of that could jam with my band.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Great guitarist. He's still doing that. He
he's
holds concerts and everything still.
he's really good. Like, he's no joke. Like, you can't just you can use your celebrity to make a rap song, a one off, or a one off, one hit wonder sort of goof song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you cannot sustain a career in jazz unless you're really good, and he is really good.
Yep. So I just want to mention him because I know he gets disrespected constantly, and that core four thing bothers the hell out of me. That he's not part of that, and it should be a core five.
I agree.
I
That's a
agree.
great point.
No, I agree.
I love that. That's cool you brought that up.
Yeah. No, he does deserve credit. He gets overlooked.
There's way
Okay,
too much.
so do you have any others, Jordan, before we go to just a couple quick Ricky Henderson quotes?
I do. I got one.
Go for it,
Again,
man.
more of a guy who his numbers won't jump off the page, but I also never really knew where he was with the whole PEDs. But one guy I was strongly considering putting on, actually our last podcast, was Gary Sheffield.
Oh,
Ah,
yes.
that's a great
Never,
one.
But
never heard anything about him with PEDs, but he was right there in that era, so it could have been.
he was, and just a great guy. I mean, his WAR is 60.5.
Yeah, he's right there in that ballpark of the
Yeah,
some of right there.
yeah, 500 career home runs, 509, over 2,689 career hits. Uh, Also, probably one of the greatest swings you'll ever see in baseball history.
Most
Yeah,
violent swing ever.
Which, by the way,
absolutely.
I
Great
do
word.
have to say, I don't know if you guys checked it out, but the swing, I'm just saying, might come back in baseball in a couple of years. Did you guys?
Oh, the video you sent.
Yep,
Yes,
that is his
yes.
son.
I
And
couldn't believe how much he looked like him
but
swinging.
here's the crazy part too, because when I showed you the guys that he was on the MLB Network, and they were like, "Oh, so like, did you force this on him?" His son wanted to learn the swing, so Gary Sheffield did not force this on his son. His son went up to him and said, "Dad, can you teach me the way that you swung?"
That's even
Wow,
better.
So
wow.
Yeah.
yeah, it was
I
Um.
hope he makes
For
it. I would love to see that swing in the bigs again.
for
oh
any
yeah,
for any
honestly,
listener, you got to go out and find that video because it is eerie how much is like his father. He looks just like him. The swing is identical. Even the before the thing, the bat going back and forth there that
The
Gary always
waggle.
did.
Yeah.
The bat waggle.
yeah,
All of it is the same.
I was blown away. Like I was like when you said it, I was like, how much like it could it be? And it was like it was exactly it was the same exact swing.
yeah,
I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
Same body type too.
Yeah,
uh huh.
man. He really did look like just a junior. You know what I mean? Like straight up junior. That's awesome. Good call.
All right, so you guys want to do the Ricky Henderson quotes?
Oh yes, I am so excited.
Oh,
I
actually, wait a minute.
mean,
Before we do quotes,
yeah,
can I tell you a story which
of course, please.
I love? So there was, I forgot what year it was, but he ended up getting Ricky Henderson ended up getting hurt, right? So Harold Reynolds ended up being the stolen base leader with a total of 60. The same offseason, he Ricky Henderson called Harold Reynolds, and he picks up the phone. He goes, "Hey, he's like, Ricky here, talking in third person." So he goes, "Oh, hey, Rick." He's like, "What's going on?" And Ricky Henderson, I kid you not, went on and said 60 stolen bases. He's like, Ricky will get 60 stolen bases by the All-Star break. And then hung up.
I love her. That's so awesome, man. And by the way, that was the year, Craig. Remember we had a stat about somebody stole so many bases 10 years in a row, and Ricky, we couldn't believe it wasn't Ricky. That was why it wasn't Ricky that year.
Right. Yep.
That's the year. So yeah, that was awesome, Jordan. Awesome. All right. Well, you brought up the third person thing, so I'll start with my favorite Ricky. Well, maybe not my favorite. It's hard to say. There's so many good ones, but a really good Ricky third person quote. And this one comes from the Padres GM Kevin Towers. A year that Ricky was a free agent, he gets this voicemail. Okay, this is Ricky calling on behalf of Ricky. Ricky wants to play baseball. That's the whole message. This is
What?
Ricky calling on behalf of Ricky. Ricky wants to play baseball.
That's funny.
And this one's a little bit more of a story. I'm curious. You guys probably heard this one before. I forgot about this one, and it's so good. This is a little bit more of a story, but it's a quick one. In the early 1980s, the Oakland A's accounting department was freaking out. The books were off by $1 million. After an investigation, it was determined Ricky was the reason why, because Ricky had hung the $1 million check that they gave on his new contract, framed it, and hung it on his living room wall. He never cashed it. Oh, I mean, come on. It doesn't get any better than that. This one's from Jason Stark. Jason Stark in '93, they were playing. He was on the Toronto team that was beat my Phils in the World Series, and Lenny Dykstra had one of the best seasons a leadoff hitter ever had that year. He scored 143 runs. Lenny Dykstra did that year. Okay, so that's the context for this conversation. Stark says, I thought a great angle would be a comparison of the two leadoff hitters. Dykstra had a fabulous season, scored 143 runs, the most by any leadoff man since Who else? Ricky Henderson. So I approached Henderson on the field and started to explain the story. He said, "Who's Lenny Dykstra?" I laughed. I laughed. Then I said, "He's the other leadoff hitter." Henderson said, "There ain't no other leadoff hitter but me." And Stark tried to keep going with his angle. Ricky didn't see it. He said, "What's Lenny Dykstra ever done?" And Jason Stark tried to start giving him Lenny's stats that season. Ricky cut him off and said, "Man, why are you trying to compare some other guy with Ricky? There's nobody other than Ricky."
I love third person Ricky.
I do. It's great. It's great. Oh, oh my God. And
Oh my
I
god.
have. Do you have any other ones, Jordan? I have one or two. I have two more.
Oh wait, I just had one. God damn. No, you go ahead. I just lost it.
Okay, take your time. I can do one or two while you find yours. No worries.
Yeah.
So this is a very quick one, and it's a great one. Somebody once quoted John 3:16 to Ricky Henderson. Ricky said, "I don't want to hear about John hitting 3:16. Ricky hitting 3:30."
I love how he said his name. He
Yes,
Ricky Henny.
yes, Ricky Henny. Totally,
Because a lot of times he
man.
would say later in his career when we were talking third person, which was all the time, he didn't just say Ricky. He said Ricky Henny.
That's right. You're right. I forgot about the Ricky Henny thing that he started doing the last like 7, 8 years or something. That's awesome. Yes, good call.
What?
Jordan, do you have yours, or do you want me to do one more?
Wait. I I
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on that. Let that sink in for a second.
no wait. There's another one. Ricky
Hmm.
was asked if he had the Garth Brooks album with Friends in Low Places, and Henderson said Ricky doesn't have albums. Ricky has CDs.
I've never heard that one before. That's awesome. Oh God. All right, here's my last one, and this is a pretty famous one, but it's worth saying. Um, while playing for the Padres in 1996, Ricky was the last to board the team bus. As a veteran, he had expected someone to leave him his own seat, but there wasn't a row open. And he says to the whole bus, "No seats for Ricky? Ricky don't get no seat? Ain't nobody got a seat for Ricky?" Brad Ausmus speaks up and says, who was also a veteran at the time, and says, "Just tell one of the kids to move. You've got tenure." Ricky says, "Tenure? Nah, Ricky got 15 years." And that's all I got on Ricky, man. We could go for hours,
No,
legitimately,
we could.
on Ricky quotes.
No, you know what my favorite story is the one, the John Olerud story.
Oh, yes, when he did. Yes, when he didn't know him. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
he didn't
awesome.
know he played with him on the Blue Jays or the Mets.
What was it? He went up to introduce himself on the
No,
Mets after
so
having
okay,
played with him on Toronto,
so
right?
yeah, so I found the story. The
Oh, good,
story
good.
went a few years into Ricky's stint with the Mariners. He walked up to Olerud at the batting cage and asked him why he wore a batting helmet in the
Oh,
field.
this is my favorite Ricky story.
Olerud explained that you know, well, what he had, and Ricky ended up telling him, I used to play a guy that wore a helmet on the field." Where John Olerud says, "Yeah, that was me."
I forgot. It's even better than I remembered. That's so awesome. Oh,
Yeah, I played with a guy in Toronto that wore a batting helmet all the time. Yeah, Ricky, that was me.
oh, what a gem, man. What a gem.
Wait, what? I've never heard of this. When he was on the Yankees in the mid 1980s, Henderson told teammates that his condo has such a great view that he could see the Empire State Building. Like
What?
that was the quote. I guess in like when he was playing in the 90s, Ricky.
Yeah.
I guess Ricky Henderson told his teammates, he's like, my condo is so huge and that it has a great view. You can see the entire Empire State Building and behind.
Oh,
Like that wasn't. It was as funny, but I just thought that was weird.
that
That's
is kind of
Ricky.
weird.
That's Ricky showing off his wares. You know, like, hey. Ricky's
Yeah.
silent. Yeah. Oh, the other thing, and it wasn't a funny one, but it's a nice one. Is Ricky also routinely demanded that other players pony up to give staff members playoff shares and World Series shares where appropriate, where it never would have happened if Ricky hadn't been on those teams. Like guys that were like, part-time clubhouse dudes, or you know what I mean, like guys that wouldn't have been receiving a share normally. He would pony up out of his own share, and he would bug other guys to do it too.
That's awesome.
I thought that was really cool. Yeah,
That's very cool.
just another example of Ricky being Ricky.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love him.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I got on that one, man.
All right.
All right. Well, I mean, that was fun. That
That was
was,
freaking awesome. What a blast.
yeah. And oh, I don't. I love doing these. These things are so fun to do. It's. I mean, we could just keep going and going if I wanted to. But yeah,
Yeah.
these lists just get better and better. I mean, they get harder, but they get better. Um,
Yes, yeah, accurate. Both are things you said are accurate.
but
No, I really enjoy doing it. I pull my hair out trying to figure out who to put where, but it's all fun, man. It's a
oh
blast.
yeah, 100%. Which yeah, so you guys are all set. You guys want to do closers first and then starting pitching?
That works for me. If that's what you guys want to do, I'm down.
I mean, yeah, I would figure we do that first, and then we could do another top 20 for starting pitching.
That I'm in. Count me in.
So yeah, we'll do that. So within, I'll say, next couple weeks maybe we'll do we'll try to get the closer top 10 closers. We won't do 20. Uh, but so we'll do that, and so look out for that. If you're listening this on YouTube, link in description for the first podcast is there. And yeah, also go check out Craig and Al's pod Perks Recap where they do football. Um, I'm guessing you will be on there sometimes with baseball.
Yep. A little bit.
A little bit, and then I actually also know. Um, you guys also said, from your pod yesterday, I listened. You said you might be doing music. Is that official or not yet?
Oh, thank you for listening. And yeah, we're good. We haven't nailed down the topic yet, but yeah, we would definitely want to do it, right, Craig?
Agreed. Yes, absolutely.
All right, yeah. So go check out that for football content, music, I guess as well. Also on YouTube, Perks Recap Pod, and yeah. You guys got anything else to add?
Just
Not
real quick, Jordan, when does the actual baseball season start? The
The
not the Japan games, the regular games,
27th.
which is a what?
That's a Thursday.
How about that Friday, the 28th? We do our predictions.
Oh, that's great. That sounds good to me. If that works for you guys, yeah.
Okay, I like that.
We'll do the predictions on my podcast. And maybe the week before, on the 21st, we can do the relief pitchers.
The
Oh, that works for me
two.
too.
Yeah, that would actually do. Yeah, that would be good. We could do
All
that.
right. And then in early April, first couple Fridays in April, we'll try to do the starting pitching.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
yeah. I mean, if it's like this, it was like this outfielder one. It might be a lot more than fun.
Oh man, it's gonna be a trip, dude. I mean, my head's already spinning from seeing John Smoltz at 21 on the list, so
I
this
still
is gonna
can't
be
believe
good.
that. That's insane.
It's gonna be good, man. This is gonna be a trip. And there's some wild ass names from the old days, man. You know what I mean? Like there are some names that have just crazy numbers because they did what they'll never do again in baseball. You know, guys like Three Finger Brown and guys like that. One of my favorite nicknames of all time.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's gonna be fun to see who gets on the list and where. You know?
Yep,
Yeah, I
I
don't
agree.
know. It's going to be hard to quantify with the old guys. Like Cy Young won 500 games.
Exactly.
Mhm.
It's it's so hard, man. Like what Walter Johnson has crazy numbers.
Bob
There are just
Gibson.
some Bob. Oh man, Bob's one of my favorites of all time. I get
Yeah,
a preview. He'll be on my list.
no, Nolan Ryan.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I mean, just the names were already thrown about. I have my head spinning in a fun way. It's going to be great.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me. This was a
Absolutely.
lot of
Thank you
fun.
as always, Jordan.
Um, so yeah, look out for the relief closers pod, and then on the 28th, join us on Craig's podcast for our predictions. And
That's a fun
yeah,
one
that's
too. I
good.
like doing that.
Yeah, no, they are a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, right there with you.
We do hold accountable for our actions.
Yes, we
So
do. We do them at the beginning of the year, and then we revisit what we got wrong at the end of the year. We do it for baseball and football.
Oh, and we have looked. There have been some good ones here and there, but boy, it's funny to look at the end of the year sometimes with things you thought were going to happen.
Now, sometimes we look foolish, but that's okay.
It's
yeah,
okay. Yep. It's
I
all
mean,
good. It's part of the fun.
yeah, exactly.
I love it. Well, thank you again for having me, Jordan. And this is always fun. I really enjoy these. So thank you as always.
I
No,
appreciate it.
no problem, guys. Thank you for joining me. And like I said, if you're on YouTube, look in the subscription description for 20 through 11 if you haven't checked it out yet. And other than that, I'll sign off, and I will see you all in the next one.